was and all that wasn't. Thanks for all that will be and all that won't be. We give thanks unconditionally. And for this awareness, for this attitude, we say together, Amen. Oh, there we go. Okay. So, your low-cost superpower. My grandkids, for that matter, my daughter and son-in-law, they're into these superhero movies. And interesting thing about the superheroes is, as far as I know, I'm not into superhero movies, but as far as I know, each of the superheroes underwent some sort of tribulation on the front end, right? I mean, Spider-Man had a spider bite and high fever and developed these powers of flinging webs. Venom got bitten by a snake, and so on. So each of the superpowers, each of the superheroes, to acquire their superpowers, had to undergo some sort of tribulation. And parents, I mean, you have to go through some sort of tribulation, right? Interesting thing is that the superpower that I'm going to be talking about today, you do not have to undergo tribulation. Yeah, it's a painless entry into superpowerdom. And the superpower that I'm talking about is compliments.
David, you look awesome today. How's that?
That's, yeah, okay. Well, here, huh? How about that?
Really?
So, Linda and I go to Estes Park. We go in our Z3. We get there as fast as we can, not because we have anything to do up there. It's just that we like going fast. And we go up South St. Vrain Canyon. I don't know if you've all been up South St. Vrain Canyon, but South St. Vrain Canyon is a great canyon for driving a sports car fast. One of these days I'll come in and I'll relate to you something about a ticket that I received, but so far we've been good. But we have a purpose in going there besides just traveling. And one of the purposes of going there, or the purpose of going there, is there's a coffee shop right at the right as you're coming into town from North St. Vrain Canyon or from South St. Vrain Canyon. As you're coming into town, you approach Lake Estes, and there's a intersection that you turn left going west into Main Street. I don't know what they call that street, but on the main drag of Estes. And just as you turn left, there's a little L-shaped shopping center there. Eddie's Mexican Cafe, and then there's a Kind coffee shop. And so we have taken a liking to the Kind coffee. So we will ostensibly we'll drive to Estes for a cup of coffee, but we drive to Estes because we like to drive to Estes. And so I was wearing this hat. I walked in and I ordered our normal one-shot latte with Splenda and one-shot caramello. And the barista, the barista said to me, "I really like your hat." And I said, "Thank you." And as she said that, I could tell that it was a sincere compliment, right? And so as she said that, I felt the effects, and I noticed the effects of that compliment. So she was fixing her coffee, and fixing our coffee, and she served up the coffee, and I said, I want to compliment you on your superpower. And this led to a conversation about what is the superpower that I was referring to, and I was referring to the unsolicited compliment. So I got to thinking about that. The unsolicited compliment had several effects on me, the receiver. And one of the effects that it had on me was that it lifted my spirits, right? It was a no cost, or low cost anyway, effort on her part. The only effort on her part was attentiveness. So she recognized that I had a hat. She liked the look of the hat, and there was one other investment of effort, and that was to state the compliment, right? So this opportunity for us to use compliments is really a superpower. It has a significant number of effects. I was fixing the monitor downstairs in Fellowship Hall, and I had to go out and get a couple of cables. So I went into the Best Buy. Turns out I was down on South Colorado Boulevard picking up C's candies for our giveaway on, what is that? Not Thanksgiving, it's Valentine's Day. I'd referred to Valentine's Day as Thanksgiving. And, I come to the conclusion that it really is Thanksgiving because, you're expressing, you're thankful for this relationship that you have, right? So it's a Thanksgiving Day. So those people who corrected me can take back their correction. So I was getting a cable from one of the clerks there in, one of the associates there in Best Buy. And he said to me, "I really like your hat." Okay, well, there's two people that really like my hat. My wife likes my hat, but, I pay her to give me compliments, right? So,
You pay her back with
so anyway, I said to him, I've been thinking about that compliment that you just gave me. I've been thinking about compliments, and I want to acknowledge your willingness to give me a compliment. That was very lifting. It was empowering. And so we got into a conversation about the power of compliments. And here's a perfect stranger, not a perfect stranger. I mean, he worked for Best Buy, and I was in Best Buy, so he wasn't a perfect stranger, but he was a stranger nonetheless, and we had this wonderful conversation that brought us much closer than if I had said, "Do you have cables?" And he said, "Yes, they're over there," and I've got to pick up the cable and go to the cashier. And it was a wonderful interlude in this busy day of just connection, one to the other. So I've been thinking about the power of compliments. And the interesting thing is that the first thing about compliments is what? They feel good. Have you noticed? When you give somebody a sincere compliment, and a sincere compliment is important. When you give somebody a sincere compliment, it feels good. Why does it feel good? Why do you think it feels good to give a compliment?
We're giving love.
Giving love.
You're giving acknowledgement.
Giving acknowledgement.
You're relating on a different level, a personal level.
You're relating on a personal level. You're connecting, right? You're getting past the facade that we all wear around for whatever reason, and we're connecting, we're penetrating that facade, and we're connecting on a one-to-one basis. Compliments build attentiveness. If you are on the lookout for the opportunity to give a sincere compliment, you are attentive, right? I mean, your eyes are open. Your heart is open. You are ready to respond to that opportunity to say, "Well done." I mean, one of the takeaways from Scripture that I have is, "Well done, good and faithful servant." Turns out that's not said very often, but Jesus was in the practice of responding, lifting, encouraging. Another thing that benefits of compliment is that it contributes to a positive consciousness in ourselves, right? I mean, if we are looking out for opportunities to give a positive consciousness, that primes us, right? That builds our consciousness to be receptive to those positive things out there. And yeah, amen. And so it also eases tension. Walked into King Soopers last night. Troy and I were going down to get a couple of things. And there was I don't know, she's 20, 25. It's kind of hard for me to tell age from this perspective at 72. You know, she was a youngster, let me put it that way. And she was standing there behind the Boulder Daily Camera Denver Post subscription table. And so I walked up to her and I said, "So, how many subscriptions have you sold today?" And she said, "1." I said, "Yeah, I can imagine. How are you doing? I mean, this has got to be tough to be here." So she said, "Yeah, you know, this is a commission job, right? And I've stood here for 5 hours and I've sold 1 subscription." She says, "Honestly, I just had it up to here with this job." So I said, "Well, keep smiling." And as Troy and I were walking away, she said, "Thanks for your positive energy." And so Troy and I went and got her a couple of things. We went to the cashier, through the cashier, and we walked out the door, and I looked to the left, and there was no one there. She had said, "You know, honestly, I'm about to can this job. This is the worst job I've ever had." Well, we had this opportunity to connect one-on-one, right? And I look at it as I was perhaps the stimulus for her to find a better job. But anyway, I don't know. Maybe you need to be careful about where you give your compliments. But nonetheless, we had this positive, wonderful interaction with someone who, again, a stranger. And it lifted my day. I think it lifted her day because she was laughing and she was relating on a personal level that apparently she didn't have an opportunity to do very often that day. Anyway, so it eases tension. It builds trust. As you give a compliment to someone, it opens up this realm of trustworthiness between the two of you, right? As you are giving the compliment, you're also trusting that person, right? You're extending trust to that person. And that person is likewise receiving that trust, but in the receiving of that trust, they are reciprocating that trust. Compliments motivate. Like the girl in King Soopers. I complimented her on her smile, and well, anyway. So compliments do motivate. Compliments allow, if you're working with someone, if you're interacting with a neighbor, and you offer a compliment, what you're doing is you're telling that person that this which I am complimenting you about is something that should be acknowledged, and it is something for which you are giving me something. That's why I'm complimenting you, right? I have received something from you. And so compliments motivate. Compliments also stimulate creativity. And there have been psychological studies done as to the response that people have from compliments. One study that was done by Harvard noticed that when a person is receiving a compliment, their hemoglobin A, which is a chemical that is effective in your immune system. It's a stimulus chemical in your immune system, but the saliva has an increased level of immunoglobulin A. It also, these studies have reflected this idea of how does it affect a person in motivation? How does it affect a person's creativity? How does it affect a person's health? It increases dopamine, it increases serotonin. Something I didn't know about serotonin. Serotonin is mostly found in the bowels, in the intestinal tract. I didn't know that. I thought that serotonin was primarily a brain chemical. But it's not. It is all through the body. But, well, there you go. So compliments also propagate positivity. Think about that. You walk into a situation that a neutral, if call it a neutral situation, or even a negative situation, and you offer a compliment. What you're doing is you are initiating this positive energy that propagates out through the person that you have complimented. As well, it lifts them, which allows them to propagate, right? So imagine this web of relationships in which we are all interacting. Right now, we are each interacting with each other, right? Yeah. But each of us also has a web of relationships. And so when we come into this environment, into this community here, and we offer these sincere compliments, what we're doing is we're empowering each and every person that is affected by that to go out into their world and to propagate into their web of relationships this positivity. So you are, by just your initiation of this positive act, you are contributing to this web of relationships that we are all part of. Powerful stuff. Amen. It helps build a spiritual practice of others first. When you're looking for opportunities to give a positive feedback, to give a compliment, what you're doing is you're taking yourself out of the me first equation, right? You're instead creating an others first attitude. And that others first attitude is really a reflection of the teaching that Jesus offered us. Love God with all your heart, love your neighbors as yourself. Loving your neighbors as yourself through this practice of sincere compliments is a powerful way for you to dissolve this wall that we tend to build up around the ego and put ourselves into the other person's life in a positive way. And compliments are self-inflicted. That is, they are a choice. And the choice that we make when we give a compliment, we are also receiving that positive energy. When we give love unconditionally, we are experiencing unconditional love. It is just the dynamics of that practice that when we give love unconditionally, we are experiencing unconditional love. Why would we choose not to? I'm looking for an answer. Why would we choose not to? It's only because we have isolated ourselves. We have built this encasement, this concrete, spiritually concrete cocoon around us, and compliments are one of the ways to break through that. Self-inflicted positivity. It's yours. Use it abundantly. We'll have our meditation. As we come into our... As we breathe in and breathe out, as we allow ourselves to set aside all of the stuff that we bring into this moment and just allow this moment to be pristine. Let us recall a time when someone offered you a compliment, a sincere compliment. Bring that to mind and feel how it felt. Was your response, thank you? Or was it in some way denigrating the compliment? Oh, this old thing, I've had it for years. Oh, thank you for that compliment, but yeah, I'm just not at my best today. In our attempt to be humble, we destroy the energy of that sincere compliment. But feel how that sincere compliment felt. How it moved into the depths of your body, of your consciousness, of your heart. How it lifted you. How it changed your attitude. How it empowered you to step forward into the next moment. Now think about the opportunities that you've had to give compliments. How it felt to give that sincere compliment to the friend or to the stranger. Feel how it empowered you in giving the compliment. Feel that positive energy that comes from the giving and receiving, from the giving or the receiving. Acknowledge that power that you have. Celebrate that power that you have to spread those good vibrations, that positive energy. Realize that your compliments could lift someone that's having a hard day. Perhaps someone who's had a hard week or a hard month. And your compliment has the power to shift that for them. Perhaps you're not Iron Man or Spider-Man, but you are empowered with this divine power of unconditional love expressed as compliments. Accept that. You are a powerful being moving through a receptive universe. Let your power transform the moment. Let it lift those in need of lifting. Let it empower those who do not feel empowered. You are the expression of the Christ here in this moment when you choose to be. choose it. As we come back into this time and space, let us come back sharing the words of the Lord's Prayer.